I sanctuaries want to tell you about the secrets in that NT, to buried between tell the you about the secret sin ward, and the buried between the shadowed sinage war's end, and in the founding Horadrim's founding. For 200 years sanctuary's veil hung loose, rogue angels, demons, and forgotten Nephalem carved their marks. Cain's tomes whisper of unknown hands but who, the Horadrim saw only the wreckage. I sanctuaries want to tell you about the secrets in that NT, to buried between tell the you about the secret sin ward, and the buried between the shadowed sin edge. The arcane sanctuary spires bore charred runes no angelic scholar could decipher. In the worldstone keeps shadow, demons etched portals into the fabric of time fractures the Horadrim would later blame on the prime evils. Who else forgotten Nephalem, their bloodlines diluted but their hunger intact, scavenged corrupted relics to forge clandestine power. A rogue archangel, nameless now, tampered with the worldstone seals, leaving whispers in dead languages that Cain's tomes still shiver to recall. If this is true, then Tyrell's crusade was not the first reckoning, it was the cleanup. The balance the Horadrim fought to preserve, a lie written over older, bloodier hands. What else did they bury? What else still breathes? The sin war crumbled with the worldstone's pact, heaven and hell turned away. Sanctuary, veiled yet vulnerable, became a tomb of unclaimed power. For 2 centuries, the void between wars bred new hunters. Fallen angels, their wings stripped but not their cunning, carved secrets from the worldstone's bones. Demon clans, unbound by Mephisto's chains, raised temples to fuel forgotten bloodlines. Nephalem fractured, nameless forged pacts with shadows that would not outlive their ambition. The Horadrim arrived as janitors, not saviors. They sealed rifts, burned relics, and called it balance, but their maps missed the scars. What did the scavengers take before the Horadrim's first flame? What knowledge now lost might still twist in the worldstone's silence? The pact hid sanctuary from warring heavens. It did not hide sanctuary from those who already knew where to look. In the 8th chapter of his asterisk fragments of the past asterisk, Cain's ink bleeds unease. Asterisk unknown hands, asterisk he writes, asterisk wove sanctuary's fate in the silence between wars, asterisk 2 centuries of absence. Yet the land bore scars of touch no angel or demon claimed. The Horadrim in their haste to seal ancient evils mistook these marks for chaos, but chaos implies randomness. What if the void between sin and salvation was a forge? What if rogue archangels, exiled for defying heaven's order, carved new pacts with shadow-born kin? What if the Nephalem, those half-born hybrids, splintered into sects that worshipped not light or dark, but the void between? Cain, ever the scribe of truth, hints at a tapestry of the stolen Pireses, hijacked relics, bloodlines bartered like currency. The worldstone stood untouched, yet its stillness was a mask. Behind it, forces unbound by heaven's laws, or hell's hunger carved their own dominion. The Horadrim's founding was not a beginning, it was an inheritance, a reckoning with ghosts know. The sin war's ash settled, the Horadrim's hymns began, but between these beats, sanctuary bled secrets. For 2 centuries, the broken heavens and fractured earth became a chessboard for those who thrived in ruin. The Shadow Council did not wait for the worldstone's faulty asterisk, shaped asterisk its slow decay. Their whispers seeped into the cracks of dying stars, weaving alliances between rogue angels and demons who'd sworn fealty to no prime evil. A Cain journal entry, buried in asterisk Diablo Roman 2 asterisk S intermission, hints at a nameless cultist bargaining with a void born in the iron halls of pandemonium. Was this the blackened flame's first spark? Their rituals, later infamous, began as quiet thefts, stolen fragments of angelic law, demon fire harnessed without pacts. They did not scream for chaos, they asterisk curated asterisk it. The Horadrim arrived too late to witness the Shadow Council's grand experimental. They bred Nephalem into tools, not saviors. The blackened flame, in turn, turned these discarded pawns into zealots, their temples rising where sanctuary's old cathedrals crumbled. No epic battles marked their ascent, only slow, patient rot. A passage in the Sin War novel, often skipped, describes a nameless archon trading celestial blueprints for a lock of Lysandra's hair. Forgotten now, Yet the Horadrim's founding creed, their wars against the evils, could not unsee the ghosts these groups had carved. What else was buried in the silence between wars? The answer lies not in the Worldstone's fate, but in the scars it left. And scars, dear listener, do not lie. The dimming of the Worldstone was not a prison, it was an invitation. By leashing Nephalem potential, Angiris did not merely hide sanctuary, hollowed its bones. A shielded void untouched by heaven's gaze or hell's hunger, what thrives where light retreats, shadows. And shadows for 2 centuries feasted, rogue angels stripped of purpose carved new oaths in stolen blood. Demon clans unbound by the accords wove labyrinths of flesh beneath forgotten temples, and the Nephalem, some slept. Others woke, remembering a truth older than the sin war. The blackened flame did not rise from Mephisto's whispers, it burned from embers Angiris himself had fanned. The Shadow Council's machinations, a symptom, not a cause. Their plots unraveled in the Worldstone's absence, yet they thrived. Why? Because Angiris' gift of darkness was a stage. A stage where actors rehearsed for roles the Horadrim would never script. The Worldstone's dimming was a key. A key that unlocked Sanctuary's ribs, letting in the very things it was meant to exclude. The Horadrim arrived too late to see the architects, only the wreckage. Only the cults, the scars, the hollowed power. They fought the storm, unaware the sky had been shattered long before their first spell. Angiris' design was not to protect, it was to prepare. To let the rot bloom unchecked until the Nephalem's reckoning became inevitable. And still the question hangs, who else in that silent age carved their name into Sanctuary's bones? The answer lies not in the Worldstone's fate, but in the scars it left. And scars, dear listener, do not lie. 281 words. The Sin War's scrolls name no Shadow Council. The blackened flame burns in no ancient ledger. Yet both moved in the war's shadow, precise as a blade between ribs. For 2 centuries, Sanctuary's fractures were unobserved wounds, who bled from them. The Horadrim arrived too late to witness the architects of Chaosonly, the wreckage they left. A council that commands legions cannot rise from nothing. A flame that blackens must have been lit. But by whom? The silence in the records is not absence, it is erasure. The Sin War's victors wrote its history in ash and triumph, blind to what thrived in the margins. Were these factions born in the void between wars? Or did they wait, patient as rot, for the right moment to claim the stage? The Horadrim's blind spots were not accidents, they were invitations. What if the true war began not with the prime evils, but with those who learned to steal the war's secrets? The first sin is not creation, it is concealment. And every hidden name is a weapon waiting to be unsheathed. Sanctuary's bones were picked clean. For 2 centuries, the void between wars became a forge. Cain's tomes whisper of hands unseen, angels who shed their oaths, demons who carved new hierarchies, Nephalem who forgot their birthright. They did not build, they unraveled. Angiris dimmed the Worldstone not to save mortals, but to smother a spark. Without its light, the Nephalem frayed into factions. Some sought to reignite the divine. Others to bury the past. The Horadrim arrived too late to witness the architectsonly, the wreckage of their experiments. What did these scavengers steal? Not just secrets, but the right to define history. A rogue archangel might have siphoned the Worldstone's memory. A forgotten bloodline of Nephalem could have twisted their legacy into myth. The demons, ever hungry, likely harvested both. The chaos was no accident. Sanctuary's fragility was engineered. Its myths were shaped by those who thrived in the dark. The Horadrim's triumphs, their failures all were shadows cast by unseen fires. Cain wrote of unknown hands. He was right to doubt them. For every truth he recorded, 3 were erased. The Worldstone's dimming silenced witnesses. The Nephalem's divided legacy erased architects. What remains is a scaffold of lies. The true war began long before the Horadrim, and its losers were those who dared to forget. What if Sanctuary's peace was never meant to last? The architects left cracks in their prison, seams of raw chaos waiting to bleed. For 2 centuries, the void between wars became a forge. Rogue angels carved forbidden runic vaults. Demons wove lies into the bones of cities. Forgotten Nephalem, those who rejected both sides, carved their own gods from the dust of fallen stars. Did they seek power or to unmake the conflict itself? The Horadrim arrived to a world already rewritten. Their maps traced only the scars left by hands now ash. The latent chaos they fought was it residue of the sin war, or the work of those who thrived in its shadow? Sanctuary's fragility was no accident. It was an invitation, a stage set for a war not yet named. The chronicler now wonders, what truths did the Horadrim inherit, and which were buried to keep the conflict alive? The scaffold of lies still stands, but its foundation trembles. What if the eternal conflict is not a battle of good and evil? What if it is the echo of every thief, every heretic, every forgotten soul who dared to reshape the game? The losers were not just forgotten, they were erased, and the winners are still writing the rules. Who else hacked Sanctuary's secrets between the Sin War's end and the Horadrim's founding? For 200 years, Sanctuary was a playground for cosmic scavengers, rogue angels, demons, forgotten Nephalem factions. The Horadrim only saw the aftermath. Architects of chaos left no blueprints, only bloodstains, broken relics. Cain's records are the only surviving ledger of this era's shadows, every nameless hand that reshaped the game. Erased, the winners wrote the rules, but what did they erase? Debate in the comments. The Codex is N, who else carved their name into the silence? For 2 centuries, Sanctuary's veil hung loose. Angels and demons, exiled kin, carved secrets into the silence. The Horadrim swept in too late to see the hands that shaped the dust. Angiris dimmed the worldstone, but whose shadows thrived in